I do feel like 2024-25 season is finally the mainstreaming of Bitcoin. We crossed six figures for the first time. We crossed 2 trillion in market cap for the first time. We are up about a 7x from the 2022 low. And we've done all of this with Fed policy rates still above 4%. Bitcoin will have one of these years that just blows people away. If belief is the basis of most money today, then people are under a spell, because that credit that people hold, if they're not trying to do something with it, as in buy assets or buy Bitcoin, that practice of keeping money in credit, it negatively impacts people's lives. It hurts them. The reason that they are hurt by it is not because they've chosen that, but they are under a mind trick. The crypto war was won by Americans versus the government, including the NSA and the State Department. Joe Biden was involved in that. They came hard at the private industry's ability to actually communicate in an encrypted way. The government wanted a backdoor, and they didn't get it. Say what you want about the United States. I sincerely believe that we have our First Amendment rights, and that we express them every day, and we fight for them by saying and writing controversial things. And the more people that do it, the healthier the First Amendment is. I believe that just talking about it is continuing that fight. So it's a First Amendment story.
It still is,
and
I would say.
What's up?
The fight for, because the way that and Nick, me and you are in totally different. I have to cover the news every single day, so I remember vividly for the last 2 years the previous administration's attack on Bitcoin, and we referenced the original crypto war that happened back, I believe it was in the 90s, multiple times, because it is a First Amendment issue, right? If you the crypto war 2.0, the attack on self-custody, it's the same thing, right? Are you trying to make the argument that writing down 12 words is somehow dangerous to national security? They were using essentially the same arguments. Now, I think it was solved in a different fashion. I think this one was solved via an election, right? That one was more solved through the judicial process, but it was still solved regardless. And tying this up with what you were saying earlier on regarding the election, you can make a very good argument that the previous administration's stance on Bitcoin and crypto, they tried to walk it back, might have caused them the election, because a big part of their voting demographic is the younger generation. The younger generation tends to own Bitcoin and crypto, right? So yeah, I mean, I think this is all, it still is a First Amendment issue. And in a way, I wish it was solved through the judicial process, because what happens in 2028 when the next election comes around, right? I just hope it doesn't remain a partisan issue. But anyhow, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. But
let me just say quickly,
I'm connecting the dots.
On the judicial process, the legislative process, America is a slow-moving, decentralized vehicle itself. And I do believe the will of the electorate and the people in this great republic will prevail over the long term. And so, we need laws. Those laws will inevitably be challenged. The courts will have to uphold them, and that process will take years, regardless of who had won the election. Because somebody would have sued, then the courts would have ruled. The courts were already starting to rule in the favor of Bitcoin. If we look back at the Grayscale case in late 2023, and that was before the election. So the election definitely helped us skip a lot of jurisprudence, but it doesn't mean that we'll avoid it in the future. And legislation should be, and that's why legislation is important in addition to executive orders and changes at the regulatory level, because those can be fleeting, which I think is, what you're referring to.
Yeah, and this is why the Bitcoin Act is so important. Like, this is why, because there's only so much they can do via executive order, right? And executive order is just one election away from it being reversed. If they want this to essentially remain, policy for the long term, right? Something like the Bitcoin Act or something equivalent to it is incredibly important. Now, I know we are getting to the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time, Nick, and I want to tie in one of the final chapters of your book. So, the U.S. government has had an evolving stance on Bitcoin. Obviously, early skepticism in the beginning, now full-fledged adoption. How does that shape its global legitimacy? And as Bitcoiners, I hate saying that, right? Because it's like, I don't need the approval of the U.S. government for Bitcoin to be legitimate. But in the eyes of the world, you could make that argument. And then how important was the announcement of the strategic Bitcoin reserve for Bitcoin to be integrated into the financial system itself?
Yeah, I'll take the second question first. I don't think that important. I think, Bitcoin is already taking on its financial role. The ETF adoption and the spread of Bitcoin around the world, these positions being taken at pension funds and sovereign wealth funds, strategic mining positions across the world, all of that stuff happened before the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and I believe that financialization of Bitcoin was heading that way, with or without it. Does Bitcoin need the U.S. government for legitimacy? No. What it does is it grows the network. It grows the potential size of the network, because there are people who are leaders and people that are followers. So the leaders get in first, the followers get in second, and the followers don't come until certain leaders say, this is okay. And so Bitcoin has its own leaders without the government, but it has a new leader, meaning it has another participant for people to say, oh, look, that person is doing it, I think I'm going to follow them. Because every Bitcoin person was told about Bitcoin by somebody or read about Bitcoin from somebody else, right? Hal Finney being the first really person who read Satoshi's idea and who was like, I like that idea. And, then Hal Finney liked the idea, then Hal Finney joined the network, then other people liked the idea, and then, then you and I liked the idea several years later, and now the U.S. government likes the idea. And that's going to bring more people along, and it gives Bitcoin a type of legitimacy that can grow the network from 500 million people to 2 billion people. And that might not have happened without the political shift in the United States. I think it's a good thing for Bitcoin's network to gain more participants. It's a good thing for the United States of America to understand Bitcoin really well. And I'm happy that we have some leaders who do now. I would say that there are some excellent people in the Senate and the House that understand Bitcoin. The executive branch is getting there, but they also have some people that do understand some of the right things too. They won an election with a lot of support from Bitcoin people. But the actual Bitcoiners in the government are in Congress. And that's a good thing for the electorate, especially if people voted for those people because they are Bitcoiners. I think that that's relevant. So I don't want people to walk away from this interview or from my book thinking that I think the USA gave Bitcoin legitimacy in 2024 and 2025. That's definitely not what I'm saying, but it increases the size of the network, and it does make Bitcoin legitimate in many more eyes than before, right? But anybody who was already in Bitcoin did not need that stamp of legitimacy. They already believed in it. And belief is key, right? It matters.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.